All right. So today we're here with Andres Franco, one of our Spanish teachers at LanguageBird, who has been with us actually for a very long time.
5 years.
5 years, yeah, since the
Correct.
beginning. And so I'm thrilled to sort of present an opportunity because you've had so many of our students and been with us for so long, and we'll hopefully continue to have many more of our students to provide sort of an opportunity for them to get to know you a little bit outside of class. And so I'm so glad you could join me just for a few minutes today to talk a little bit about your background and where you are and give us a little bit of an insight into your life.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Probably like I didn't have the opportunity to talk about myself with the students, not with some of them, just like something basically. Some of them know that I am from Colombia. Some of them know that I am in Brazil. Just a few of them know that I was actually part of the Air Force in Colombia for a couple of years. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that part of my life. Like several years ago, probably now like 10 years go fast. 10 years I was part of the Colombian Air Force. I was there as a non-commissioned officer. I was in a school called ESUFA, that is the non-commissioned officers central in Colombia. There I was part of the technology of communications. I was an air traffic controller actually. I have some side, I don't know where it is, but I have like the certification of that. And I love that. I loved the part of military. I love the part of the aeronautics. I love the part of the control, the air control. But something changed there within the Colombian Air Force that made me just think about that I probably need to go like further than that. That probably I was not going to be able to like to comply with some dreams that I have. Like it was to continue studying, that it was to have more time with my family, that he has to learn another language. There probably I get to a point that I notice if I continue with this, I am not going to be able to have the dreams to come true. So very hard decision that I take, probably the more difficult one that I have. I just drop it. I say it's enough for now. I love it, but I need to continue with other things. Then I tried to go actually to Spain, not to Brazil. When I tried to go to Spain, my sister was living there. She lived there for several years. But some things didn't like went well. There was like an economic depression just in that moment in Spain. So I have to like to rethink, should I go to there or not? Then for things that happen in the life, my sister changed from country from Spain to Brazil. Her husband, he was from Brazil, so they come back here to Brazil, and they say to me, "Well, you're not going to Spain anymore, but you can go here. You can come here to Brazil, and probably you will like it." I love it because I will have the opportunity to learn Portuguese. I have no idea how the Portuguese. When I arrived here, I didn't know even how to say hi correctly or thanks. I said it in a correct way here. So I had to learn from zero. That was a great. I love studying. I love learning new languages. So I said, this is what I want to do now.
So I have to ask you.
Then I just come here. Tell me.
I have to ask you or interrupt. So you were thinking about going from Colombia to Spain, and
Yes.
then when your sister and brother-in-law decided to move from Spain to Brazil for work, I
Yes.
suppose, or for more opportunities?
Yes, correct. Because the economic crisis that took place in Spain in that time, like they lost their jobs. So my 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 sister decided, well, my husband is from Brazil. Probably we are going to have more lucky there in Brazil. So they
Right.
move here, and then they take the opportunities here as well.
Yeah. So you said, and you really lit up, which I thought was great, when you talked about being able to learn another language and coming to Brazil to meet your sister, her husband, and learning some Portuguese after not knowing a word, right?
Yeah.
So I first want to go back a little bit, and I want to ask, when and where did you learn English? How did you learn that? Did you learn it in school or
Okay.
family or how? Because your English is very good.
Oh, thanks. Well, I learned in the high school actually. I have a very good teacher, several good teachers, and because I always love like to learn new languages, I pay a lot of attention. Probably, I don't know, my classmates didn't have like the same opportunity as me as to talk in English. I love it. So I remember that I listened to Eminem songs, Eminem music, and I tried just to translate it by myself, and then ask the teachers, and
Wait, you listen
basically
to, who are you listening to?
Eminem,
Oh, to
the
Eminem.
rap. Yeah.
They're over. Okay. It's kind of hard too because in music, especially if I think of Eminem songs, right, he's speaking very quickly. So
Yes.
do you think that if you're trying to learn a language and you're listening to that, does it help you if somebody's speaking very quickly, or it just was it your interest in it, or did it make it harder?
I think that was not about the speed that he was like singing like so fast. It was that I was really interested in his music. So because I was interested, I tried to get further into what he was saying, what he was trying to like to sing. It could be like a slow song or a fast song, but the important is that I was interested, and the important for the people that is trying to learn a new language probably is that to be interested. So you are going to really spend time that is going to go fast because it is something that you like to do. So it is not about the speed. It is about that you like to do it.
So it was about your passion for it. You liked the music. You wanted to know what he was saying. So you started translating some Eminem songs.
Correct.
Did your
Exactly.
teachers help you with it?
A couple of them. Just I didn't like mention it to them, but I asked for translations, for example, or to expressions that he used a lot in his music.
And a
Uh,
lot of
and
colorful expressions and different phrases.
yeah,
Did
yeah, that is correct.
you ever ask your teacher, what does this mean? And they said, oh gosh, do I have to explain? Was there ever like a funny moment where you asked for a translation?
No, because I take care of not having to that. So I just try to have like to search on the internet before I ask them for what is the context of the sentence. So I
Oh,
avoid this kind of situations, fortunately.
you avoided embarrassment. All right.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite Eminem song?
uh, Let me think. Favorite song. I cannot remember one right now, but
Yeah.
it is one that he is talking about his daughter. Uh, when you are alone, I think that is the name of the song. It's a very old song, and that is like the one that I was able to translate completely without the help of my teachers.
Okay, that's great. So then you knew that you were learning it, right? It was coming.
Yeah, exactly. I know that.
Yeah,
That's correct.
that's great.
Okay. Well, what more can I say? Well, after I arrived here to Brazil, I was first at the beginning, like thinking I didn't go to Europe. I am still in South America. How is it going to be? I then noticed here that it was not like a very like big change. The things here in Brazil are very similar to Colombia, so it was not like so much difficult, but it was not easy. The new language like took me some time to learn it because I need to continue working with the web design things that I worked before after I leave the Colombian Air Force.
So
But it was great. I love it.
was it first in Portuguese that you learned from Spanish to Portuguese terms for work, technical terms, or did the social terms and conversation come first?
The social terms in the conversation come first. I was not able to work with anyone here in Brazil, so I was working like through the internet with Colombian clients, with clients that I had from the United States, from other countries. I had the opportunity only to work here in Brazil, like after 1 year that I like really mastered the language, that I really understood like the expressions. Then I was able to like to take some work here, but the
Do you think it
weight of communication was here with the social. Like I try to do this. I try to go just like without any point in particular. just randomly and go to ask to someone in a store, what is the price of this thing, for example. I tried to do it in Portuguese. So I tried to do it like in 10 different stores, even I was not going to buy anything, but just to practice. But just to practice.
Did you find that when you were doing that, and that takes some risk to be able to go out and take a chance and hope that people are nice, and if you make a mistake, do you find that people there were encouraging of you, that they were helpful when you were trying to learn, or that they'd correct you or try to understand? Was it useful? Is the culture friendly like that? If I were to come to Brazil, would it be, and wanted to learn, are people friendly to people trying to learn the language?
Yeah, it was. The people here is actually very friendly. Colombia is the same thing. They're very friendly people. They try to help you the most they can. Even if they are not able to do it, they will try to help you. So that even it was sometimes like not enough to learn a new language. It was enough like to encourage me to continue trying to do it and try to communicate with these people from here. That is a really important thing. The people helping you or trying to help you, that is good. That is good. That
So
is like, yeah.
between learning English, right, through listening to Eminem songs and taking English in high school and having some good high school teachers and exposure to English, and then also through moving to Brazil and learning Portuguese, that's two languages that you have. Do you have any others?
Not yet. I am trying to learn Esperanto right now. That is a dead language. It is a little bit difficult, but I try or I hope to learn to speak it in, I don't know, in this year probably.
Is that a heritage language of yours?
No, I just like find it out interesting because when the person that created this, the
Uh-huh.
idea that he has, it was to make this the language to easy the way that you are going to learn other languages. So I found out that interesting. One of my students actually mentioned it. So I just look for it, and I am just like trying to understand the structure, understand some words. It is great. I love new languages, so I hope to learn this year.
So I imagine with all of your experience, right, moving to a country where you didn't know the language, your experience learning English, you know a lot about learning languages and sort of for you, what it took or the best methods to learn. What did you find was most helpful to you? And then do you ever share any of those things with your students? Do you feel like you have more sort of compassion for your students as well as they're trying to learn if they make mistakes? What's your reaction sort of as a teacher now of language to somebody who's maybe struggling or is just a beginner? How do you approach that?
Well, because I have like several teachers from the beginning to the advanced, the opportunity is to have some students that really want to speak this language. They are in the correct path. That is the first thing that you need to do. You really need to feel that you want to learn this new language. The approach that I will take with my students, it is, don't worry about the grades. If you really show that you want to learn the language, you really show that you are going to be on time, if you like try really to learn this language, don't worry about the grade because that is going to be a second thing. But you need to put all the effort that you can into learning this, because without the effort, without wanting to do it, it is going to be a lot more difficult, like to learn the words, to learn the structure, and these things. The best advice that I give to my students probably is the same one that I passed through. When I arrived here to Brazil, it is not that I probably are going to speak in Portuguese. I need to speak in Portuguese because I was not able to buy anything. I went to buy just a gun, I don't know. I think that it happened. It happens like it passed like 2 days before I was able to buy the gun. I need to just go to one store that I was able to see it and to say give that to me or in Spanish, just like pointing out. So the advice that I give to my students, and I'm going to continue giving it is, put yourself in this situation. don't like try to learn the language because it is something that you are going to do later because the teacher tells you, but create this environment. You need to speak the language because if not, you are not able to understand what you are seeing around you. So put the cell phone in Spanish or in the language that you are trying to learn. Put the computer in that language. Put everything that you can into this new language, and the brain kind of like adapt to the situation, and it is going to easy the way that you are going to memorize, to understand the structure, and to see this new language. That is probably the best advice that I can give to future students and to the students that I have right now.
So that's sort of really a model of immersion, right? So where it's you pick up your phone and your phone is in Spanish or Portuguese, and in order to get along, right, you need to be able to practice using the language in a very practical sort of way. When you teach in your classes, do you find that you try to bring up scenarios with students or have them have like an authentic conversation, or how do you bring that into your classes when you're teaching?
Well, I try at the beginning. I try like to give the basic things in order to before I start speaking actually, because if I try just directly to start speaking, probably I'm not going to try like to give the idea, the real idea that I want for the student to have, and it is that you need to learn this new language because if not, you are not going to be able to communicate. So after I take the basic grammar, the basic vocabulary, and to give homework about the vocabulary, I try to encourage you like to talk about daily things, their daily routine. Then we are going to move to a new kind of lesson that is going to be to talk about, for example, news or things that are happening right now. What is your opinion about the coronavirus, for example, something unfortunately that is happening right now, but that it will work because there is a lot of information for it to talk. What is your opinion about what will happen with things in 20 years? What is your opinion about the politics, the environment, and stuff that we can talk in general, that it is like general knowledge. And that is probably the best approach that I take right now with the students. Let's talk, but let's go into understand first what are we talking about, at least in some part of it. I know that I cannot demand from the students, you need to understand everything. So I put sometimes to read an article, for example, or a paragraph, and they to try to figure it out. Even if you don't know this word, try to figure it out. Give it a chance, give it a shot. That probably you will be correct about that. You are like a very good student, or all of us are good students. We probably just feel like ashamed sometimes to make mistakes or things like that. So just try it. Try to talk. Try to figure out what is an expression, or just ask. That is the more easiest way to get to this new knowledge.
Yeah, those are awesome tips. I think to learning any language, you can apply those really broadly. I just want to go back a minute because when you were in Colombia, you were in the military. And I think some of our high school students might want to know, growing up in Colombia, going to high school, listening to Eminem, learning English, speaking Spanish, right? A native Spanish speaker, you get out of high school and sort of, I want to know for you, getting out of high school or leaving high school in Colombia and looking about your future and future choices. What are they like there? Because students might want to hear how they're different than here in the US, what kids do in the US. So when you graduate high school, what kind of options or what do you do? And how did you end up going into the military? How did that come about?
Yeah, the options in South America in general are not as good probably as it happens in other countries. The effort that you need to put here is a little bit more economically with the knowledge also. I know that in the United States you need to present do an SAT test there, and then you go to the college. The college is like actually very expensive. In Colombia, the problem probably is that we have not so many universities. So the small of people that can go to the university, the portion of the people that can go to the university is not like so high as in other countries. Um, so when you are like in the high school, you start thinking what I would like to do. My first thing that I think about it was becoming a doctor. I love those things about the health, about continuous studying. But the situation there where I was living was not according to what I wanted to do, because my city doesn't have like this opportunity. So I just think about another thing that I like to do, and it was the industry. So I tried to like to study something about the industry when I graduated from the high school. But then my dad, before I get to that point, he told me, "Why did you join the Colombian Air Force?" So I said, "Well, he was part of the military in Colombia, not the Air Force, but the Army." Then my grandfather was part of the Army. Then I remember my uncle was part of the Navy. So I say probably it is a good choice. I looked through it. I see that I was going to study a lot, so that increased my attention to it. Then after a week, I just tried to join the Air Force. It is a very long process. It was a process of 1 year. It is not like you want to join and then instantly. You need to go through a process, and then they are going to select like, I believe that year they only select like a 100, 111. I have the opportunity to be part of it, but you need to put a lot more of effort than probably in other countries. That is something that we have here in South America. But I believe that if you can, if you like, you go through it, you looking for it, you can do it. You can do it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
Okay.
um, that sounds like a very selective process. It's really different than it is here in the US. And it sounds like you had to go through a lot during that year in order to get accepted to the Air Force there. Did you fly planes? Did you learn how to fly? Or was it more,
Did I what? Sorry.
did you fly planes in the Air Force? Was there training for that? Was it
No, actually no, because I joined for another part of the Colombian Air Force. So we are divided in several things, like the maintenance, then the supplies, then the pilots. Then I was part of another section that it was the communications. That
uh,
is the air traffic controller. So I was not piloting an airplane, but I had the opportunity to fly a lot with the Colombian Air Force.
yeah, and I bet that was kind of maybe exciting to think about that, right?
Yeah, I like it, but I like it more the air traffic controller.
Yeah.
Traffic control, I love that. So I just go through that.
Yeah, and that's more technical and communicative.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, right.
Using your,
And you need to speak English in order to be an air traffic controller. So I also like that.
okay,
That's why I choose to be an air traffic controller there.
okay, that makes sense. You had the skills for it. So, um, well, I'll let you tell me a little bit more. I know you had planned to talk a little bit about your move, and aside from learning the language, sort of maybe what it's like and what your experiences are since you've moved to Brazil. Um, just
Well,
share a little bit.
after all these things, the Air Force, learning English, learning the Portuguese, here I was just thinking like, what else I am going to do? Now I am in Brazil. I leave the Colombian Air Force. I need to go after something that I like. Um, I also always like the computers, the internet, and this stuff. So I learned by myself to create websites, marketing, SEO, and all of this technical stuff about the internet. So I work with that in the period of time when I left the Colombian Air Force and when I arrived here to Brazil. After I arrived here to Brazil, I had one opportunity that I didn't have before, that it was to teach the language, to teach Spanish. An academy here, a local academy, hired me for just a couple of months to teach to a group of students. I understand now how difficult it is to learn the new language because being here in Brazil, trying to speak with them, that they were not able to speak with me like from the beginning in Spanish. So now I had to like to improve a little bit. I don't speak very well Portuguese, but I need to speak to teach them how to speak in Spanish. Uh, Actually, that was the best thing that happened in that moment. I didn't talk with anyone at the beginning in Portuguese. Everything was in Spanish, and it happens what I told you before. If you I was talking to them in Spanish, they notice and their brain like adapt to the situation. If I don't understand what he's saying, like me as a teacher, uh, then I'm not going to learn anything. And the students were able to progress more than the other ones that I try to speak in Portuguese sometimes. So again, the advice it is create like an environment with everything it is in this new language that you learn. That is very helpful. Well, and again, after I like have the opportunity to teach, I love it. I say it. I left the Colombian Air Force. I love the air traffic control, but I love this teaching also. It is, I don't know, it is a very good experience. I cannot like describe it, but after a long time, I am 30 years old. I like find out this new thing that I want to do with my life. So I go after it. I look on the internet for jobs that like can fit into this description. I look here for more work. At the beginning is what difficult. I had not so many students. I have to like to divide the time with the web design. Then I find out that someone at LanguageBird, Danny Kalman, that he was part before of the LanguageBird, and he invited me to be part of this group. I love it from the beginning. The way that he teach, the way that he like the process at the beginning. I love everything when I arrived here to LanguageBird. And then I said, I need to do more with this. I tried to improve my teaching experience, like here seeing things through the internet, working more about reading books or reading articles, everything that I can do by myself in order to improve the teaching experience for my students. And basically that is up to the parts of the education. Then everything like put together. I having a lot of students with LanguageBird. Then I have this small part now with the web design, and then I have a kid that changed everything with LanguageBird. LanguageBird. This kid is part of LanguageBird. He is 1 year old right now,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I probably when I left the Colombian Air Force, I was thinking I am going to regret this my entire life. But now I think this was the thing that need to happen. If I didn't left the Colombian Air Force, I didn't have the opportunity like to be through all of this experience. So I love it. I love the path that I take after I left the Colombian Air Force and joined to LanguageBird and to teach Spanish.
Oh, well, we're so happy to have you, and your students are happy to have you too. And we always think that it's great. And I'm glad we had this opportunity to talk a little bit and to sort of share your background a little bit more. Of course, your personality, the different skills you have and experiences. Kids don't always, even if they're working with you, get that sort of detail of your background. Your new baby, right? How old is he?
He is 1 year and 1 month right now.
So cute. What a great age. And your love of teaching is just it's contagious. It's great. So I'm sure that you impart that onto your students. You seem to have a lot of compassion and also great experiences, and you're learning yourself. So as you continue to teach and meet new students, I know that you'll find it to continue to be rewarding. And I know that your students love working with you too.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much also because of the opportunity to share all of my experience. Thanks also because of the students that I had, very good students. The students that I have had from the United States are really good students. And thanks for that. Thanks for being part of LanguageBird.
Yeah. Thank you, Andres. Thank you for taking the time today.
Okay.